Welcome to the Good Life Agoura Hills podcast. Join us each month as we discuss important city projects, programs, and initiatives with the community. We appreciate your support and thank you for tuning in.
What's going on, Agoura Hills? And welcome once again to your favorite podcast, The Good Life Agoura Hills. I'm Ramiro Adeva, your assistant city manager and the proud host of your show. Now, let me tell you, excitement would be an understatement for today's show. Totally an understatement, and you'll see why. Because today's featured guests, we don't just have one, we don't have 2, 3, 4, or 5. We have 6 amazing guests here today. So without further ado, I want you to pull over, do it safely. If you're cooking something, turn your stove off. If you're on your Peloton, hit pause, because I need your undivided attention right now. This panel warrants it. First off, from the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, from the 3rd Supervisorial District, make some noise for the one and only Supervisor Lindsey Horvath. Let's go. Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. Now, moving right along, she comes from our neighbors to the west. That's right. She is the Mayor Pro Tem for the city of Westlake Village. Put your hands together for Miss Kelly Honig. Now, someone so near and dear to me for obvious reasons. She comes to us from our great city of Agoura Hills. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Mayor Pro Tem, Sylvester. Now, we've gone to the west, and let's go to the east. She is the mayor of the city of Calabasas. Put your hands together for the one and only Alicia Weintraub. Yeah. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And, I'm going over here right now. She keeps us safe. She's your captain. She's my friend. I'm so happy to have her on this podcast. Put your hands together for the one and only Captain Jen Seetoo. Yeah. And last but definitely not least, from the city of Hidden Hills, she is your mayor. Make some noise for the one and only Eniko Gold. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. Honestly, I can't express how much gratitude I have that you would take the time to be on this podcast. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
So listen, we're calling this the after party because these women have just sat on a 2-hour panel. They've given some great advice, had some great insights, and now they're taking that time to quickly join us on our podcast to talk to all of you at home. So first off, what I want to say is people are probably wondering on this amazing, outstanding panel of women, like what am I doing here interviewing them? Well, I got 2 quick reasons. One, I'm a huge fan. First and foremost, I'm definitely a fan of all of you. I've seen from afar all the amazing things that you do. And I just want to tell you thank you so much. It's an honor for me to just even share the space with you. So thank you so much as a fan. And second, I have a daughter. Shout out to my girl Cece at home. And I always tell my daughter, you can, right? There is no cannot in your vocabulary. You can do it. And I was telling her today, this morning actually, that, I get to be here today and interview 6 amazing leaders, 6 amazing women. And it's truly an honor to be able to sit here with you because I know that my daughter and so many of that same generation are looking to you all to build on that foundation of leadership that you all have started. So thank you so much. All right, so we're going to get right into this. I have one question for each of you, and I'm going to start with our very own Mayor Pro Tem, Sylvester. So Penny, you and I have talked. I know that you're a sports fan, I'm a sports fan, and we often talk about sports being a microcosm of life, right? So many great lessons. And I'm going to take us back probably about 4 weeks ago, NBA All-Star Game, okay? So the NBA All-Star Game this year, nobody was watching the three-point contest. Nobody was watching the dunk contest. Nobody was watching the lackluster All-Star Game. What everyone was talking about was the pivotal moment in sports history when the greatest shooter of all time, Steph Curry, went head-to-head in a shootout competition with Sabrina Ionescu, right? One of the best sharpshooters in the WNBA to ever touch a basketball. Mm-hmm. And it was so amazing. And what was the headline that really came out was to see that, regardless of your gender, it doesn't matter, right? Sabrina shot from the 3-point men's line and frankly did better than half the men's field. And so it's just amazing to see that in the world of sport. You see that with the Danica Patricks of the world. You see that in Major League Baseball. You have assistant coaches now that are women. You also see that in the NBA with referees that are women. How does it make you feel, and what do you think is going to be needed in order to continue that trend so that women continue to move forward in that regard?
For me, there's a basic question. It's not whether women can come and meet men. It's whether they excel to their full extent. And that is the most important thing to me. I'm a big soccer fan, or as I would say, football. But, take the women's soccer team, the American soccer team.
Amen.
They are incredible. They have done so much more than the men's soccer team. And yet they had to go to court and fight for several years to get equal recognition, equal pay, equal treatment when they're on the road. They're not, shunted into the back end of a hotel while the men are all up front in the suite. I mean, there's so much that is wrong. And it shouldn't be women having to come up to men. It should be women acknowledged and appreciated for who they are and what they excel at. And I don't think we should be comparing male to female athletes in a lot of sports because women are so much better in them.
Amen.
So it's very hard for the men to compete. And I sympathize with them. We have to be appreciated for who we are and excel on our terms. And that's what we should be recognized for and be paid for and to be promoted for and to get those endorsements that all the men have been getting. And we're inching, but we've got a ways to go.
Love that. Yeah, thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, Supervisor Horvath, obviously you've got such an impressive resume. Today you spoke about how you were the youngest chair in board history. And when I look at that, I think about the whole topic of intersectionality. International Women's Day, we're talking about, the strikes that some folks feel in terms of gender. But you also face that with age, I'm sure. And for a lot of the viewers out there who might be looking at, I'm always that person that goes out there and despite my gender, despite my age, I'm always getting discredited before I even get to say anything. You obviously have been able to navigate that successfully. So for our viewers who are facing those similar challenges, what would be your words of advice on how they can tackle those to be as successful as you have been?
Well, first I would say you're not alone. Sometimes when we have these experiences where we are diminished because of our age or our gender or however we present, it can feel, it feels awful and it feels like maybe you shouldn't keep going or maybe you're not qualified or maybe you're not worthy. But we've all had these experiences, and by keeping on going, we set that example for others. So I would say keep going, and most importantly, your voice matters now, not 20 years from now, not after you're retired, not only after you're married or had kids, not only after you've gotten your first career going. Your perspective matters now. We see how fast the world is changing, how much technology influences emerging generations. We have to make sure their voices are at the table now in order to ensure our community serves everyone.
I love that. And Supervisor Horvath, I know 5 badass women.
Five badass women.
But I got to say, 6 badass women, would you say?
Amen.
Right, all right. So kind of sticking along that line, Mayor Eniko Gold, how are you? Thank you so much for being on the podcast. So, you and I have had a chance to speak. Our conversation went into folks of foreign descent, right? You're Hungarian, as you mentioned earlier. I'm Filipino. And we were talking about, the fact that sometimes, with the color of our skin or the way we speak or how we look, a lot of times that can be a barrier that makes it difficult to move up in this world. You shared with me some great insights and great experiences that you've gone through to be able to navigate that challenge. There's the challenges of being a woman, but when we talk about the greater scope of DEI, right, and trying to find those ways of all the different challenges that we need to overcome, can you share some of those experiences that you talked about with me in terms of how you've been able to do that, not only with being a woman, but the challenge of being a person of foreign descent?
Well, first of all, I think I had always put on blinders and didn't let those things get to me too much because you have to be observant, but you don't necessarily have to let these people influence you. So I think it's important to play the long game, and it's important to put your effort in every single day and then not worry about the results too much because the results might come later on, years from now. As an immigrant, my experience in the U.S. was always very positive. I always felt that Americans, especially when I first came here, were the most welcoming, most loving people, and they have such an open heart and such an eagerness to learn about you if you're from somewhere else. So I have so many positive experiences, and so many people helped me along the way, and I'm so grateful for that. And for example, in my city, people put their trust in me, and I appreciate that. And I would say to immigrants or people who were born in other places who are looking to become leaders in their new country, in their new home, is to look for things that they can be best in and offer their best effort every day, and also look for things that you have in common don't look for differences. Look for things that you share. And I think that will help a great deal. And I also would say that having a different perspective is incredibly valuable, because people of foreign descent will bring life experiences and lessons learned that people here might not understand, and they might have a greater appreciation of all the rights and opportunities that we have here that we might take for granted after a while. So I always say that I'm so grateful to live here, to be a citizen. I'm always about giving back, because I have received so much from this country, and I'm so grateful, eternally grateful.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Mayor Weintraub, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So, Mayor Weintraub, you obviously stand for so many amazing things. We all know that, by looking at your track record. One of the things that I think anybody that knows you knows how invested you are in the youth. You've spent a lot of times, I believe, weren't you a part of the Foundation for Los Virgenes Schools, I believe? You also spent some time doing work at Bay Laurel Elementary School, and then, of course, you've got your Mayor's Youth Council. What about the youth, when you look into their eyes, excites you most? And what are you personally doing to cultivate or foster an environment where the youth feel empowered to lead?
Thank you for the question. One of the reasons that I'm so passionate about working with the youth is because when I was younger, people gave me that opportunity to work in government at such a young age. Like, people held my hand and I would go testify at hearings and whatever issues were important to me. And I see that with our youth today. They have such amazing ideas and opinions, and I just think it's so important that we listen to them. And through our former mayor, David Shapiro, he started the Mayor's Youth Council in Calabasas, and it has grown into this remarkable entity. So now as the mayor, I'm the leader of it, and just working with the students, the ideas that they've come up with. Last year, we did a program on fentanyl awareness, not just for students, but for parents too, because parents need to know what's going on as well. I see the future. Investing in the future is the only way we know things are going to be okay. And they just have so much to give, and they want to be heard, and they want to have a platform. So that's something that I'm really passionate about, and working in the schools and in the greater community.
Love it. Thank you for your work on that.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Honig. So, today I heard you mention at the main event, the city of Westlake Village, the 43 years in existence since incorporation, it always had a female on the council, right? That's amazing strides. And during our conversations, I thought it was, it was interesting that the city of Westlake Village, although they seem to have figured it out since day one, I think we can all agree there are governments all over that haven't figured it out. Mm-hmm. That gap still exists. It's part of the reason why, these events are so important, is to make sure that we're acknowledging the milestones and the strides that have been taken, but to realize that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and that we need to keep going, right? The question for you is, in your capacity, in your role, being a leader in the city of Westlake Village, having experienced what you've experienced, but seeing the surrounding environment, what can you do to help to lessen that divide such that it continues to spread to other agencies?
Well, first, like all of us here, be an example, and be there, show up and say, I'm here, and what I have to say is important, just like what all of you here have to say is important. Related to what I said when we were in the main panel is, women are often criticized for speaking out, and I have a huge problem with that. And I think that silence is wrong. I think that women sometimes, not often, but give in too easily. In other words, speak up, be there, show your voice. You may be criticized for it unfairly, but I think it's really important that we do that so we can be the example, so people can hear us. Women look at things very differently than men, and that's a good thing. And men look at things very differently than women. That's a good thing. I think that perspective on for society is critical. Just like people of different genders and different races, they have different perspectives. That's what makes our country and our city, on a small level where we work, except for you, work. I'm just going to keep talking, I'm just going to keep saying what I think. One of my other things that I have a little issue is women need to stop saying sorry. Mm-hmm. We need to stop saying, oh, I'm sorry, but, oh, I'm sorry. We're not sorry. I'm not sorry. We are smart. All of us here, everyone in that room is smart. We need to say what we think and not apologize for it. That's something that I think, has been ingrained in our society, with a lot of stereotypes that I really thought, my entire career was a problem. Don't apologize. You can say you're wrong, as Penny said before. If you don't know the answer, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. I can find out. Don't say I'm sorry. See, I did it. Reflexively. I don't know the answer. I can find out for you later, but don't apologize. We are smart. We are out there and we are serving our community, as Eniko has emphasized. We are doing a service, a very important service, and we should be proud. That's what I think. And so no more sorry. Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. That's empowering. Captain Jen Seetoo, welcome back.
Thank you.
So Captain Seetoo, there is a national movement. I believe it's called 30 by 30. And, it's an initiative, right, that kind of talks to the lack of women representation in policing, right? And so I think I saw a crazy stat that was like 12% of all of sworn officers in the United States are women. And then there was even another stat that said 3% of women within the United States are actually in leadership positions in policing. Wow. And so this effort is supposed to be striving to achieve 30% representation for women by 2030. And so, I guess my question for you is, we all sit back and we know the amazing work that you do. We know the impressive resume you come with and the rise that you've had within the LA County Sheriff's Department. So for somebody speaking with those experiences, I would love to hear what you think about how that goal of 30% by 2030, how do you see that being able to be achieved?
Thank you for your question. And Kelly, I wish I met you when I was younger, and I could say that to my younger self. Like, I needed to hear that. So thank you for your words of wisdom. There's a thing of unconscious bias, right? And we've heard it. And I've heard it throughout my career, but I didn't really understand it until, just in the last few years. And I remember, I'd be sitting down for interviews, and not so long ago, one person told me that I wasn't going to be his choice because I was a woman with kids, and they didn't think that my focus would be the job. And this person, I really, really like this person. And it was just a matter of fact. He was just telling me what his opinion was. And it's just interesting how when I became a mom, it's questioned my loyalty to the department and how hard I'm going to work for the department. But I looked at as the men, they never got questioned for this. Like when I attended the FBI Academy, they were questioning me about, well, we know you have young kids. Are you going to be able to do this? Mm-hmm. And I was talking to my male counterparts, and that wasn't one of the questions they got. Mm-hmm. Never. No. And that wasn't so long ago. Mm-hmm. And so if we're going to reach the 30 by 30, we got to talk about this unconscious bias that we have, right? We've got to kind of deal with that. It became so normalized. Like in interviews, I kind of talk about that I have support at home. I have to bring that up front. And I noticed that when my husband does interviews, my husband never ever discusses that. Yeah. And so if we're going to do that as a society, we have to talk about the unconscious bias. And, some of the facts that I shared in the panel discussion is, it wasn't only until 1987 was the first chief of police of a major city in all of the United States. 1987, not so long ago. 1998, first sheriff in California. Like, what are we doing, right? And to this day, there's never been a female chief of LAPD. To this day, there's never been a female sheriff of the largest sheriff's department in the nation. Mm. And I think we need to really look as a society at these unconscious bias if we're going to get to that stat. Because as a woman trying to progress my career, it's something I'm always struggling with, and it's something I always have to try to get in front of.
I love it. Thank you. All right, and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode in the books. I cannot thank you 6 wonderful women enough. I mean, women who are literally honoring those that came before you, setting the example today for all of the young women to follow in the future. I think you all are the perfect examples and role models that we needed to celebrate International Women's Day. And I feel so honored to have you on the show. So thank you so much for being here. And of course, thank you to everybody at home, because without you, we wouldn't have an award-winning podcast. Just saying. And you know how we do it on this podcast. So until we see you next time, I want you to keep living the good life in Agoura Hills, in Westlake Village, in LA County, in Calabasas, and in Hidden Hills. Thank you so much. We love you, Agoura Hills. Take care.
Catch up on previous episodes at AgouraHillsPodcast.com and hit that like button and subscribe to the Good Life Agoura Hills.